physical resilience. So what is that? A quick example first. I once worked with a man who broke his back in his early 30s, and he had some significant losses in mobility then as a young man. He then broke his back a second time in his early 60s after a fall and lost even more mobility. All right, so, was this one of the most unlucky men? Yeah, in some ways I would say so. Yes, he was. What he also was, though, when we stripped it all back, was he was incredibly physically resilient. Now, we can't prevent all illness or accident or disease. And while physical illness is going to come for probably all of us at some point, physical resilience actually includes taking a proactive approach to our body and our overall health, but it also involves an active coping when we get landed with something that we have to accept, recover from, or adjust to. Okay. So this man came to therapy after the second fall because he was understandably having a little trouble adjusting. And after he had lost a little further mobility with the second injury, there was a long period of anger and grief and kind of comparing and contrasting both of the injuries and their impact. And, I guess I would call that maybe that coming to a place of acceptance. After a period, though, what we started to realize was, okay, but you've done this before. You've done this successfully before, meaning you successfully adjusted to your body and to life after a serious physical injury. So if we put aside the unfair piece for a moment, at the very least, we know you know how to do this. And how did you do it? That's the key. One aspect of resilience in older adults, again, is that we have that life experience to draw from. We've often done this before, or we've known someone who has done this before. So we know there's a method, right? We've also done it wrong before, and so we know what that looks like too. All this crystallized intelligence that we keep talking about. And we have that when it comes to recovery as well. At some point, after the railing and acceptance period, he started to tell me a story. The story of how he came to terms with the first injury. And he said one day he was there with a friend, and this was, I think, about 18 months or so after the first injury, and they were going to this barbecue. And he said, I'm still limping along with this cane thing, and it took a lot in himself to get to the barbecue because he was very self-conscious about walking with the cane in front of people. He felt kind of exposed by that. And he had this friend, and he said the friend kept walking really fast ahead of him, and then he'd stop and he'd say, God, Greg, would you just hurry up? And then he would do it again. He'd walk really fast, and he'd stop, and he'd look at him. And he'd make a big deal about it, and he'd say, seriously, Greg, this thing is going to be over by the time we get there. And he said, I don't know what it was about it, but I just realized at that point that a lot of my life was going to be different now, but actually that a lot of it was going to be the same too, right? A lot of life was still going to be the same, including the laughter with the friends. He said, I just felt like myself again in that moment. And he said, and after that, I really just stayed focused on getting as better as I could. Okay, there is the resilience, right? The railing against the change, the things you can't control, all the new obstacles, and then these quieter moments of acceptance, coming to terms. So, physical resilience is the unique way in which you get yourself back after an injury, illness, or an adjustment to a disease. And so there are always two stories. There is the story of becoming ill or injured, and that needs to be told adequately so that we can make sense of what's happened to our body, right? But then there is the story of adjustment and recovery and healing, the how you get yourself back story. We need to talk about that next time.